If someone's walking by our shelf, our one shelf, this was a product that they couldn't find anywhere else, that they knew what it was, and it was a great price point, and it was so easy to understand that they could just pick it up and leave the store with it. And we did it. We delivered on time. It looked great. Visuals were fine. The price point was good. And that's how the relationship blossomed. And I think that's been one of our keys to success still today is the product should really be able to sell itself. And it should be very, very easy for anybody to understand what it is that they're buying.
Explore the minds and marketing strategies behind today's winning brands and businesses. Tap into the power of the creator economy with Earned by CreatorIQ. Here's Conor Begley.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Earned. Today I've got Cassandra, the founder and CEO at Kitsch. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm a fan of the show, so thank you for having me.
I am so glad to hear it. I respect you a lot based on my research, what I understand about the brand, what I understand about you. And so when you hear that people that you respect enjoy the work that you're doing and they get value out of it, like there's nothing that makes me happier in the world.
That's great. I say this all the time, like I'm a big podcast listener. And the wealth of knowledge that I've received by listening to some of my favorite podcasts, I hope I can be of service to some other executives out there or aspiring entrepreneurs possibly.
You definitely are going to. Let's get into it. So if we were to go all the way back to when you started the brand, you were quite young. And if I'm reading correctly, it was like your 8th business, or at least you had started several businesses before that. And so obviously took a ton of effort and sacrifice. And the quote I'm going to read that I really liked, this was in your preparation to start the company. Like, I stopped going out to eat, stopped buying makeup, stopped getting coffee, stopped cutting my hair. And by the time you were 25, it saved up about $30,000. And that's when you made the move. I know the story, but tell the audience about your story, what the early days were like, because I think it's such a fascinating story.
First of all, I want to say, as a woman living in Los Angeles, to like cut all of that is very extreme. Like, it is very hard to not get your hair cut and to go out to eat, to live a very modest lifestyle and still afford rent. And then I always talk about all the frozen burritos that I lived off of to save every penny that I could. But with that being said, yeah, I was 25 years old when I first started Kitsch. And I think the reason why I was so motivated when I first started to save up was because I had so many failed businesses before. I knew that it wasn't just like you have this idea and you go for it. I didn't know that I could get an investor. That wasn't even something that was even part of my reality. I know now it's like, oh, I'm going to do Kickstarter or I'm going to do all these like avenues to help. I was just like, I have to save. I have to do this on my own. So I don't want to like discount all my previous businesses because I do think that they all taught me something that helped me when I first started Kitsch to help that one make it stick. So I had this drive to start a brand. And my previous experience, whether it be hand making jewelry or reselling somebody else's product or just doing service industry work, I had such a passion. I had realized that what I was really good at was service, but I really wanted a brand. And so I started doing one thing that I knew I could do, which was hand making a product and doing door-to-door sales. I went and started cutting and tying elastics, going throughout Los Angeles and going to hair salons and boutiques and talking to showrooms downtown and working for free and doing trade shows for different showrooms. And I realized what I was making, what I thought was just a hair tie, which I don't want to belittle what I was doing in any way, shape, or form. Anybody could have made this hair tie. But I think one thing that made it special and unique was I was listening to the customer, and what they were saying was, this hair tie is so much better for my hair. And that gave me this big realization that what I was doing wasn't exactly just a cute hair tie. What I was doing was I was creating hair care that wasn't shampoo and conditioner. So I built off that one item that again, the amount of parking tickets that I got from my door-to-door sales and listening to the feedback that I got from everybody. But one thing I had was reorders. And I kept reinvesting those reorders, kept modifying the product. People talk about building the plane in the air. This is what I was doing. I mean, I had 4 different logos. I had handmade packaging that I was like spray painting together. And it was the ultimate bootstrap brand. I just figured it all out on my own. I've never hired a branding agency. I just recently have hired a new company to help 14 years later to help us with putting together a brand book. Now it's like it's unheard of for people to start a brand without having capital and having everything just perfectly done from the get-go. That's just not how I did it. And I think it was the perfect way for me to do it.
It reminds me a lot of the Shoe Dog story, if you've ever read that book, where the early days of Nike, it's like they didn't have financing. Back then, there wasn't the same kind of financing options. And so at the beginning, they just had to operate off of like the money they made from the products they sold, right? They would like sell the products, get cash, buy more products. It was like this cycle. I think you basically financed it off your credit card as well for the first however many years of the business.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize that when you are bootstrapped, like, I mean, even if you get funding too, I know a lot of people when they start a business, like, oh, I want to get into this big retailer and get monster POs. It costs so much money to produce a product. And then you have to wait 60, 90 days to actually get paid. And that's where the credit card came into play was I could afford that initial order, but I couldn't wait 90 days to get paid and still make more product. I remember getting my first big check from Nordstrom and like essentially power walking to the bank with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, who's also the COO of Kitsch. And we cashed that check and we knew we were going to be able to pay off our credit card that month. And that was such an exciting moment. And these are some of my favorite stories to talk about because I don't think that's celebrated enough, is that grit and creativity in starting a business.
We raised a little bit of money to get us started, but we paid ourselves $2,000 a month for the first 4 years each. And, you know, my rent was $1,300. My car payment was $300. So post-tax, I made $1,600. So I had $100 left over every month, right? That was the first 4 years. At one point, we rented out our house on Airbnb for like $12,000 over 2 weeks. Like we like rented it out and didn't tell our third roommate. And then like we got it booked for 2 weeks over Christmas. We're like, hey, you got to go hang out with your parents for Christmas. Like we'll split the money with you, right? That's the kind of stuff you're doing to like make it happen. And then there is this moment where you start to make real money and you start to make more money than you spend. And it's like things have changed. Like you said, it's this like really meaningful moment that you remember, like we can support ourselves now. There might be ups, there might be downs, but we've reached that level of sustainability, which is pretty cool.
We still have that heart at Kitsch. The amount of times where we were in an office building and we saw furniture in the dumpster and we're like, I'll take that. Still to this day, a lot of the furniture that we have, the computers, we still use secondhand. Even though we definitely are much more established than we were 14 years ago, we still have that mindset of like, everything doesn't need to be so new and expensive. We're very savvy when it comes to continuing to grow the business.
It's a smart way to do it. So you talked about a little bit about this kind of retailers and managing, obviously, the kind of lag between sending out cash and getting cash back in. What were the big retailers? I always thought, based on what I saw, it seemed like Ulta was one of the really big moments for Kitsch. Was that the one that really took you guys to the next level? Or talk a little bit about what your retail journey was. And then for others, I think people think that the big part is getting in. No, the big part is like staying in and like growing with them. So what was that journey like? And what would you recommend to others that are trying to be successful with these kinds of big retail rollouts?
That is such a great question because I think everybody could probably have a different answer. Like if you speak to a career CEO that has years of retail experience, they're going to have a very different answer. And I suppose it also depends on the category that you're selling as well. For us, we took a really interesting approach and very slow build. Specialty is where we wanted to enter first. And the specialty stores provided us a chance for like real-time feedback. We would make edits to the product. The purchase orders were robust enough to keep us in business and help us grow. But we had years of that before we got into any major retailer. And when we got into Ulta, we had enough experience, even from a small mom and pop shop in Wisconsin. These small stores would say things like, oh, you need shelf talkers to go along with your product. And I would be like, what's a shelf talker? And they'd be like, it needs to be your sales associate from your brand in a picture on a shelf that talks essentially to the customer. So I started taking some of these strategies of visual merchandising, making things as if somebody who's never seen this product, like a 3-year-old that, before in their life, and having them understand what it was with a snap of a finger. And granted, it was me on Photoshop doing all of this work. The key learnings that we had from it were so valuable for when we finally did launch in retail. And it wasn't like how people do launches these days where they do like an in-store event or, they have some big rollout. We had one shelf at Ulta, and our main mission for this launch was to ensure the goods were shipped and delivered in the store and set up. And that was our launch. But what we did beyond that, because we had no marketing dollars, we just made sure if someone's walking by our shelf, our one shelf, this was a product that they couldn't find anywhere else, that they knew what it was, and it was a great price point, and it was so easy to understand that they could just pick it up and leave the store with it. And we did it. We delivered on time. It looked great. Visuals were fine. The price point was good. And that's how the relationship blossomed. And I think that's been one of our keys to success still today is the product should really be able to sell itself. And it should be very, very easy for anybody to understand what it is that they're buying. So that was our strategy.
Well, and to talk to you on the shelf, right? I've never heard that term. I love that term, but it's like, you need to be able to like see it and know what's happening very, very quickly, right? I either want to try that or I don't, but I understand it because there's not a lot of time, right? Like somebody's scanning the shelf, they're giving each thing on there 2 seconds max. Like you don't have a lot of time to get somebody's attention. I think about that a lot with packaging, obviously, because you come in and like there's like just so much color on the shelf now. How do you think about talking on the shelf today? What do you guys do that you think gets people's attention?
I think our whole graphics team, it drives them absolutely crazy. But I put so much text on the box because I want to make sure that no one is intimidated by our product. So we do everything from ensuring that if the fabric is soft, like make sure that the customer can touch the fabric. If it's a scrunchie, card it in a way where they can put their hand through the hole. All these little things that maybe nobody would ever even think that we thought about it, we're thinking about it. Just little tilts on how we card our products too to make it seem like it's really like a gift rather than like a commoditized purchase, which sometimes our category can kind of feel that way. It's like, oh, I got to go get another bottle of shampoo. I got to go get another hair elastic. So we want to make it just a little more special. Again, we keep those specialty store roots in what we do on a larger scale now.
That whole world is just a world that like, it's so foreign to me, like just such a consumer in that world rather than like an expert. So it's fascinating to me because I think in a lot of ways, the kind of world of direct to consumer and digital ads and all this stuff has gotten so much attention. And particularly during the pandemic when everything was digital, right? That people forgot about the real world and the physical world and how important that is and that experience. And actually, I think really, if I were to, from the outside, assess the brand, you guys really built it that way. But over the last however many years, call it handful of years, it seems like you're crushing it digitally. I mean, you're definitely crushing it in our numbers. Was that like an intentional pivot? What do you think has worked so well for you in terms of building these kind of digital communities and doing well outside of the physical world?
It's really crazy. We didn't really have a website until like 2018. I mean, it's really strange that we didn't really think because, again, being bootstrapped, like you have to really take your time. You have to take your time. You can only invest in like what is generating income in that very moment. And so like 2018, 2019, we started building it up. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit. And that was a huge reality check for us. But one of the things, and thankfully we had like just started doing digital ads and we just started really focusing on like growing that part of our business. It was wild because we started getting $1 million POs canceled on us. So what do we do about this? We were able to take a lot of that inventory and then bring it into our direct channels. It was really a big learning curve, but what I can say, and I know we're talking about like influencer and digital strategy and all of this, our team was phenomenal. Not only did we show up for our retailers and help them, being like, no problem. You know what? We're your partner here. We're going to work this out. We're going to be here when you're ready to take POs. Like, I'm going to take a pause there because the only reason why we could do that is because we had a healthy cash flow. And we were able to say, okay, the dollars that we were about to invest in this, we have to invest it over here. And, you know, I have to give a lot of the credit to my husband. He does like a dual CFO, COO role here at Kitsch. And we've always been really frugal and just to make sure that when moments like this come, we can be ready and support all of our incredible employees that we have, our retailers, and then hopefully try and do our best to continue to grow even through situations like the pandemic. So we shifted our strategy to focusing on Amazon and our direct channels. And I think some of the things that were very helpful for us were, first of all, you can't really run ads and continue to be successful unless you have really great products. It was really easy for someone to purchase a product that was around $12. It didn't really take a lot of effort, but I think one of the investments that we had made was in a platform called Northbeam. Northbeam was extremely helpful for us because being very frugal with our finances, we were able to make quick decisions when something wasn't working rather than waiting for days for proper analytics to come back to us. Northbeam gave us an hour within launching of feedback. It also showed us the long tail that came after an influencer posted. That long tail showed us like, okay, it's not about the first few minutes. It's like what happens a month down the line with somebody who we could potentially partner with for long term. And most of these influencers already had a Kitsch product. They were already using the Kitsch product. And so it was really easy for us to then reach out to them and be like, hey, let's try and figure out how we can get people to come to our website and buy it since the stores are closed and since nobody's buying it that way. Like, let's try and figure out from all of our different resources, we have the funding right now that we can invest into that aspect of the business. And you're already wearing our products. Seems like it's a good fit. Let's try it out. I mean, it worked because, you know, it was authentic. And the best part is when someone uses a Kitsch product, they fall in love with it. They're willing to like collect all of the other parts of the brand. And so it's just been amazing. I don't know how else to say. Wish there could be like some secret sauce and how to like make it work overnight and do all this stuff. But like the truth is the customer was there. The customer happened to be an influencer. We were able to invest and it just worked. So
the secret sauce is, to your point, the best way I've heard it described, and it's always stuck with me, was this guy named Ian Rogers. He was the chief digital officer at LVMH, reported directly into Bernard Arnault. He was a CTO at Beats when they sold for like $1 billion. He helped build the first Beastie Boys website. So he called it the hyper efficiency of quality. And you can think about it in your own context. Like, I live here. There's some restaurant that I never would have walked by. I never would have stumbled past it. Nobody probably would have ever told me about it because it's on some offbeat road. But like, I go into Yelp, I search for lunch and it shows up. I never would have found that if this didn't exist, right? The internet didn't exist. And so I think the same thing happens here. And so what that means is the better the quality of your product, the easier it is to find it today. And the faster it will grow. So the hyper efficiency of quality means the better your product is today, it will grow much faster than it did in the past. And it goes in reverse as well, right? So if you have like a shitty product, people figure that out really quickly, right? They read the reviews, they watch a YouTube video, all these kinds of things. And so I think what you're talking about, so the first one is like, have a really good product. And then the second point on the authenticity side is like, when people are supporting you, they're actively talking about the brand. They already love the brand. Lean into that, reward that behavior. It tends to build on itself over time because then they go, oh my God, I was talking about this brand. I met the founder. She's amazing. I love the product. And so everything they do from that point forward is just more trustworthy to the consumer. And they tend to tell their friends, like, you should do this too. Like, this brand's amazing to work with. So you are describing the secret formula. You just didn't realize it, or at least you didn't position it that way.
Yes. And going off your restaurant example, doesn't matter how delicious the food is. And once you get in there, you have to have a great waiter. And our team is incredible too. So the service then beyond that and the relationships beyond that, like you said, it's not transactional for us. It's definitely about the relationship and fostering that for the long term.
Yeah. I know that you talked about influencers a little bit, but I do want to talk very specifically about the last year, last 4 or 5 months kind of time period. So when I was talking about numbers earlier, so you guys are the number 21 ranked hair care brand for us in 2023. You're ahead of some big names there. And then you're growing 66% for the year. In the last 4 months, though, you're growing over 100% year over year. You're up to number 15 in our rankings. So you're ahead of L'Oreal, Aveda, Briogeo. Like, these are some big names. What is it that's happening right now? Like, is it a viral product? Is it what's working?
Well, I would like to think that Kitsch is a really unique brand in a sense when someone can come to our website and it's more than just buying the shampoo and conditioner, which is incredible, but it's buying, again, that routine. And it's not just like one part of your day. We're here really supporting from the second you wake up until the moment you go to sleep in all these different Kitsch moments throughout the day, where they're going to the gym or you're washing your hair, washing your face. Like, we're supporting a healthy hair care routine through all of those moments. And so it's fun to shop on our website. And then it gets to the point where the customer is like out and about their day and they're thinking like, oh, I wonder if Kitsch has a product like that, and then they come back to our website. And so there's a lot of reasons to come and shop with us, number one. Number two, I think one of the things that we've done this year that's been amazing is our licensing. And I think that one of the reasons why this has been so beneficial for the brand is these are customers that we know would love the brand no matter what. And finding a common ground, and it's like, you like Harry Potter? We like Harry Potter too. The combination of the two, not only does it bond us by a similar interest, but it's that introduction to a brand new audience that we know will love and be devoted for the brand going forward that, you may not have had without that introduction of Harry Potter, which, by the way, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So the licensing aspect has given us an opportunity to have a brand new relationship with a customer who may not have ever met us. It's like your example with the restaurant and the Yelp, and it's been really successful.
Maybe it's just because of who I've talked to recently, but it's like I had the president of Stanley on, which has done an incredible number of collaborations, as well as prior to that, he was a CMO at Crocs, and they were like notorious for their collaborations. There's a woman named Lucy who hasn't been released yet, this episode we just did, who was at Say Beauty. Prior to that, though, she was a CMO at Drunk Elephant, and they did just amazing collaborations together. I'm just seeing this pattern across brands that are killing it, doing this really effectively. So love that, and glad to hear that that's consistent with what you're seeing. If I love your brand and I love another brand, it's going to create a lot of excitement. Actually, we don't do this that much anymore. We used to do it a lot more, but you can look at this overlap. You can say, okay, here's an influencer that's talked about my brand, and they've also talked about this other brand. When those two brands do a partnership, they're very likely to talk about it, right? They get really excited about it. I want to hit one more digital question just because I'm personally curious about it. So we don't actually talk about Facebook a lot on here, right? We talk about Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, but you guys have like a Facebook community that's almost 40,000 people. And on the website, I think it says 17,000. So I know it's grown a lot because since the last time you've updated the website, it's more than doubled. What made you decide to invest there? What is this Facebook community? It's private, so I can't see what's going on. What's going on in there?
First, come and join it. It's a lot of fun. That's the first thing that you should do. Let me tell you the greatest secret for growing your Facebook group. It's time. Time is your greatest secret. It took us so much time to grow this community. And again, it's not transactional. We respond to every single post. We get in there and every comment, we're in there and we're talking to the customers. It's like a chat group. And some of the things that we've done that make our Facebook group so special is we get focus groups from there. We do special giveaways. We ask people to be early testers. I can tell you that some of the people in the Facebook group can sell the product better than I can. The before and after pictures that they take, and they take us on their hair care journey and the growth that they've had over the years, like people would pay a lot of money to get these type of case studies. And they just do it because they've been investing in the brand emotionally, and we've been investing in them too for years now. And it just takes time. And nobody's going to like that. Nobody's going to like that answer. But the truth is, it's a real relationship with our Facebook community, and it's so much fun. It's one of my favorite things to do on a Friday night is to go and respond to people in there.
Just go hang with people. Yeah. I remember Tiffany at Drunk Elephant. She would spend 4+ hours a day, every single day, like in the comments, in the DMs, until the time she sold the business and after she sold the business. I think one of the best parts about the internet is that you and I can be across the world having like a real meaningful human connection without having to be down the street. And I think that people make it about the ads and the scalability and the measurement and these kinds of things, but it's like scaling that human connection is, I think, what actually matters. So I love to hear that. And again, it's different. I'm over 100 episodes in. There isn't a single time I've talked about a Facebook group on here. Not once that I can remember.
It's so funny to me when people talk about like owning the customer. That phrase is so uncomfortable to me because I'm like, you don't own me. Like, the brand doesn't own me, but I'll be friends with you. We can be partners here. And that's what our Facebook community is. This is like a non-transactional relationship, and people give honest feedback and we listen. So don't disregard the Facebook community. It's definitely one of the most amazing channels that we have to get lots of great feedback from our customers.
You know who else has an amazing one now that I'm thinking about it? I haven't interviewed him, but I want to. Was the founder and CEO of Raising Cane's. I think they hit like a $10 billion value, some crazy stuff, and are doing really well socially. He's got a massive Facebook community. I like, where did this come from? So there's obviously a lot of people on it. So there's something there. Let's do one more business related question. Then we'll do one fun end of show question. So I remember when I started, or when we co-founded the company, at the beginning, I would always try to talk people into being an entrepreneur, right? I'd be like, oh, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I'd like push it really hard. And then now I'm like a lot more measured. And I kind of read similar vibes in your interviews. I was reading an interview recently with the founder of NVIDIA, which now might be the hottest company in the last however many years. And he's like, yeah, if I had to go back, I wouldn't do it again. So I'm curious for you, I would have to imagine you'd still go back and do it again, but would you?
I was born to do this. And I always knew that owning a business was something that I wanted to do. My parents were entrepreneurs, my grandparents were entrepreneurs, but I love this phrase of being an entrepreneur is killing it and getting killed at the same time. And so for me, what it's been is it's been the ultimate path of self-discovery. And what I mean by that is being a founder is one thing when you're just working by yourself and trying to like get through the day-to-day of things. And then being the entrepreneur, and it's like, okay, now I'm building a foundation so I can hire employees. But then you get to this stage where you really have a team and everybody is relying on you to steer the ship and make things go in a certain direction and have the vision. But I think the reason why maybe being an entrepreneur or a founder or a CEO isn't quite right for a lot of people is you have to take 100% responsibility for everything that happens. You can't blame anybody else for your lack of success. Being in victim mentality just doesn't work. You really have to wake up, love what you're doing, no matter what is thrown at you every day. I mean, you don't have to love what was thrown at you, but you have to like remind yourself that like, I like being the CEO. I like being the entrepreneur. I like being the founder, whatever stage you're at. and know that like, even if you get to that place where you're about to break and you're like, I don't know if I can make 3 more hours of this, you just have to like go to sleep. Just go to sleep. But it's really, really hard to take complete responsibility for everything. But it's easy to do that if you really love what you do. And when everything is thrown at you and you have to clean the toilets and you have to kick the cockroaches out of the room, you know, you feel like you're not doing great as a mom or whatever it might be, like you still show up because you genuinely love what you do. And it's not about making money. There's lots of ways to make money. The only way that you can continue to take full responsibility for all of your success, to keep waking up when you think everything is over, is because you genuinely love what you do. That's why I don't think it is the best and right job for everybody, because that's a hard task. A real leader takes zero credit and all of the blame. And I think that's very accurate.
Well, the other added element too is it's like really hard to like walk away from, right? To your point about responsibility, if I don't like this job or it's not working out, I can leave. And I think that's much harder when you start a company. Obviously, you can walk away from it. Like you have a lot of people that are relying on you, right? Okay, let's do one fun end of show question. So I feel like when you start a company, there's a lot of pressure to be good at whatever you start a business on, right? So for me, I should probably be pretty good at like Instagram, but I've like never posted an Instagram. I've done like 2 in my life, right? Like I'm not actually very good at social media. Although I will say I've started publishing on LinkedIn. It's going really well. So it's going pretty well. So for you, you've got great hair, but I would imagine there's a lot of pressure to have great hair. How do you feel and cope with that pressure? I'm quite curious. You know, you can't really have a bad hair day, right? And be the CEO of Kitsch.
That is the best question I have ever been asked. I should say I had a meeting right before this, but before that meeting, I was a mess. You know, I know hair pretty well. I wouldn't say I have like really curly hair because I know what really curly hair looks like, but I have some pretty intense, frizzy, curly hair. I actually just had this conversation with someone the other day. I went to a concert, I took a picture, and I was like, I don't think I could sell a hair care product to anybody just because it was styled so badly. Like when we create products, I was like, I am not good at hair. I need to be able to use this product like beginner status. Even though hairstylists love our products, it should be so user-friendly that someone like me who's, you know, kind of a dum-dum with devices can make it work. But it actually is a lot of pressure. I'm so embarrassed. I can't even believe I'm about to say this, but when you have curly hair, the ends get really thin and like noodly. Anybody who has curly hair knows this. When it gets long, it just starts to look like noodles, ramen noodles. But I put on my vision board this year that I want to have like a thick base in my hair. Like that's how serious that pressure is. So to answer your question, I would say about 15% of the time, I have great hair. I'm just really bad at styling it, hence all the hair accessories, because I love putting my hair back and I put it up a lot. So I actually really wanted to change the slogan of Kitsch to be lazy beauty, because like if I could do anything like to make a brand that was like about being able to roll out of bed and not wash your hair for a week and somehow still make it look great, if I could make a brand that did that, I knew I could have every woman on board. But my tagline got vetoed, which is probably good. It is a lot of pressure, but I don't do stuff like this. I'm not a forward-facing founder. I'm not active on social media. I don't do a lot of this stuff. So I only have to bring it out like 20% of the time, the actual like styling of it and making it look fancy.
I love it.
Thankfully.
Congratulations again on all the success. It's really impressive what you've built. And I think to your point, you've assembled an amazing team as well, and excited to watch what you guys do this year. And this was such a fun conversation. I'm so glad we got to have it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. I appreciate it.
Be a friend, tell a friend, and subscribe. Earned by CreatorIQ. CreatorIQ is your all-in-one solution to grow, manage, scale, and measure your influencer marketing program. Ready to unlock the power of the creator economy? Get started with a demo today at CreatorIQ.com.